Top 55 monster movies of all time. There's hardly any terror in horror without a monster. Monsters have always dominated the subgenre of horror films, inspiring filmmakers to experiment with different kinds of terrifying monsters on the big screen. Monsters heighten the primal fear of watching something unreal, spreading terror across the globe. The thrill, spine chill, and adrenaline rush that the viewers experience in a monster horror are unparalleled. Horror films have witnessed a vast creative sphere of filmmakers who have introduced monster to the world of cinema, creating history. Not all monster movies are horror, as some monsters have definitely paved the way for some memorable adventure and thrilling storylines. Let me warn you, this is not a rated top monster movie list, as every person has their own list of their favorite films. But on an average rating of the reviews, these films have grabbed the positions in the top monster films produced in the last 4 decades.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
We have such sights to show you.
HellRaiser, released in 1987. HellRaiser introduces us to the world of Cenobites, who are extra-dimensional beings from a religious sect in hell. They grant sadomasochistic pleasures to people who summon them. This 1987 British supernatural horror film was written and directed by Clive Barker.
We'll tear your soul apart.
Frank Button bought a puzzle from a magician in Morocco, which upon solving hurtled him into the portal of Cenobites, introducing him to a realm of carnal pleasures. Soon, he is shattered into pieces, ending up as residue on the floor of an old house. Incidentally, the house was bought by Frank's brother, Larry, and his second wife, Julia, who had a secret affair with Frank before marrying Larry. Larry's teenage daughter decided to move out and live on her own. While moving a mattress, Larry cut his finger. As blood spilled on the floor, it absorbed the blood, resurrecting Frank. Julia found Frank in a partially regenerated and grotesque form, and succumbed to Frank's request to help him recover. Julia started visiting single bars, luring victims to her house, and killing them, as Frank sucked their blood and recovered. Unfortunately, one day Kirsty witnessed the episode and got possession of the magical box, which introduced her to the world of Cenobites.
He came.
It's just a puzzle box!
Oh no. It is a means to summon us.
With the unique concept of the Cenobites, the film is genuinely scary and spine-chilling, handling pain and desperation intelligently. Brilliant direction, excellent performance, and intelligent script make it one of the most wanted horror films of all time.
I'll give you 10.
NightBreed, released in 1990. HellRaiser was just the beginning for Clive Barker, as he continued his excellence in his next monster horror, NightBreed. Misinterpreted as a horror slasher, the film's potential lies in its rich mythology and one of the most fantastic monster creatures produced.
Sooner or later, you'll want to live forever.
Based on Barker's 1988 novel, Cabal, the film centers around a young man named Aaron Boone, who is tormented by the monster city of Midian, where monsters are forgiven and accepted. He goes to a psychiatrist, Dr. Philip K. Decker, to cope with the disturbing nightmares, who successfully convinces Boone that he is a serial killer. But in reality, it was Dr. Decker who had performed the gruesome murders. Dr. Decker gives Boone a hallucinogenic drug, asking him to surrender within 24 hours. As Boone wanders in a daze, he gets hit by a truck and lands in a hospital. From a patient Narcisse, Boone receives the directions to Midian, under the graveyard. There he encounters supernatural creatures, Pelican and Kinski, who attack him.
We mustn't. It's the law. Fuck the law.
While escaping, he is killed by the police led by Decker. Boone comes to life in the morgue due to Pelican's bite and becomes a Nightbreed as he returns to the city of Midian. The movie might have had a grand success if it was not heavily edited by others or misinterpreted by 20th Century Fox as a slasher. NightBreed is a classic example of the work of a gifted director with his favorite cast and crew. A Nightmare on Elm Street, released in 1984. Being one of the most famous films of the horror genre, A Nightmare on Elm Street has produced one of the most dreadful villains ever produced in cinema history. Freddy Krueger. The film creates an illusion between the dreams and reality, where Freddy Krueger exists in the dream world, but he can kill in the real world.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Nancy Thompson is traumatized by violent nightmares, where she sees a severely burnt man wearing gloves and sharp steak knives with threatening the group. Soon she realizes that all of her friends, including her boyfriend Glenn, are being terrorized in their dreams by the same man. Soon after, all her friends begin to die in their sleep.
Please, God.
This is God.
Nancy eventually learns that the man haunting their dreams is a child molester named Freddy Krueger, and a few years ago, the parents of Elm Street burned Freddy alive. He is back for vengeance as he murders their children in their sleep. The teenagers of Elm Street struggle to stay awake and alive, while Nancy decides to bring Freddy out of their dreams into the real world and confront him. Compared to the budget, the film by Wes Craven is amazingly polished. Most critics agreed that this film is a highly imaginative horror film, praising the horror effects, music, editing, and lighting of the film. The incredibly terrorizing atmosphere created by Craven makes it all nail-biting, exciting watch. Alien, released in 1979. Alien, the 1979 film directed by Ridley Scott, has ruled the world of alien horror movies for over 4 decades. It is unique in many ways, blending the genres of killer monsters and groups of people hunted down in dark spaces. Apparently, Alien became the blueprint of lots of rip-offs and sequels. As the spaceship Nostromo returns to Earth, it intercepts a distress signal from the barren moon Acheron. It awakens the 7 crew members from cryosleep as the spaceship descends on the moon. While exploring the unknown area, the crew members discover an alien spaceship with a chamber containing thousands of eggs. As one of the crew members grows intrigued with an egg, the parasite inside the egg attacks him as he faints. He is carried back to their spaceship, unknowingly carrying one of the most terrifying creatures of the universe, the Xenomorph. This monster creature soon starts a rampage as the crew prepares to confront it.
Talk about killing it. We know it's using the air shafts. Will you listen to me, Parker? Shut up!
The Xenomorph and the sets designed by H.R. Giger are masterpieces that have inspired other designers for ages. The nerve-wracking atmosphere, and as well as created by the director with the synchronization of sound, visuals, and detailing, makes it one of the best horror films you will ever see. The Thing, released in 1982. The masterpiece series of alien horrors continues with our next 1982 film, The Thing by John Carpenter, which can still mesmerize any audience even today. This brilliant movie effortlessly blends sci-fi and horror, introducing a unique monster that can ingest and assume the form of any living organism.
What can we do? Whether we make it or not, we can't let the thing freeze again.
A U.S. research station in Antarctica suddenly finds an approaching helicopter from the nearby Norwegian base, trying to kill an escaped dog of their base. As the chopper gets destroyed, the U.S. team, intrigued by the strange behavior of the Norwegians, flies to their camps and investigate. There, they discover everyone dead or missing, while also detecting the remains of an unforeseen creature that the Norwegians have burned. The American crew takes the remains to their camp and concludes that it's an alien life form. Later, it is revealed that the alien can assimilate and shapeshift after ingesting any living organism. Before the crew could realize it, the monster initiated havoc attacks on the crew, who are left to fight for survival.
Fuck you too!
The grotesque special effects by Rob Bottin are stunning and set a new standard in alien horror. The atmosphere is intense and tension rises beyond expectations. You cannot be considered a horror fan if you miss the film. Godzilla, released in 2014. Godzilla is not just any monster, but is a legendary monster, or the popular king of monsters, highlighted as the savior of mankind. What can be said about the monster, who was introduced in 1954, has been featured in over 36 films and is still standing strong. The 2014 remake of Godzilla is probably the best adaptation for the king of the monsters. The movie follows a mysterious accident that destroyed the Janjira nuclear plant in 1999, killing most people, including the supervisor, Joe Brody's wife, Sandra. Devastated, Joe stayed in Japan, desperately hunting for the truth. After a few years, Joe's son, Navy officer from the US, travels to Japan to release his father, arrested for trespassing the Janjira district and restricted area. Soon, they find the cause of the disaster, leading them to massive unidentified terrestrial organism, or a Muto, who escapes to Honolulu and kills Joe. The process also awakens the mighty Godzilla, causing a tsunami in Honolulu and ensuring a vigorous battle with Muto. Another Muto escapes from Nevada's nuclear waste facility and proceeds to breed with the other Muto. Godzilla is the only hope for humanity to save the Earth from devastation of Mutos. Gareth Edwards has handed the fans a breathtaking and overwhelming Godzilla movie, with some incredible realistic special CGI effects which set this film apart from the remaining Godzilla movies. Friday the 13th, released in 1980. Friday the 13th is one of the most influential horror films and slashers with iconic villains. Produced and directed by Sean S. Cunningham, Friday the 13th depicted gruesome murders, which in 1980 was highly controversial. Considering the time of release, it truly shocked the audience with the thrill and suspense.
Stop!
The story revolves around a group of teenage camp counselors who are murdered one by one by an unknown assailant. Despite warnings from an insane old man, Steve Christie reopens Camp Crystal Lake, while an unknown stalker prowls the region. The murders begin again. Young Jason Voorhees drowns at Camp Crystal Lake, while two counselors were meant to be guarding him were busy among themselves. Annie is a new counselor 2 decades later. As the reputation of the restored camp precedes it, she is the first of the new counselors to be assassinated by the unidentified assailant as the murder spree continues. Although critics lambasted Friday the 13th when it initially came out, it has since become one of the growing and most influential horror films of all time. The film has grown so famous that it spawned multiple sequels of different qualities, but none of them compares to the original.
Ugly motherfucker.
Predator, released in 1987. Predator is the 1987 American sci-fi action horror monster movie directed by John McTiernan and written by Jim and John Thomas. The titular monster is a deadly, technologically advanced alien who stalks and hunts people for sport. Major Alan Dutch Schaefer, featured by Arnold Schwarzenegger and his group of commandos, are sent on a rescue mission of some missing airmen kidnapped by terrorists. Who would have known that the rescue mission would be converted into a bloody massacre by an unknown danger? After the mission gets over, the commandos wait for the airlift, but soon they start getting slaughtered one by one. They discover the truth, as Dutch and Anna are the only ones left to discover it. The Predator, an alien, is known to hunt rare species and convert their skulls into his trophies. The latest species of his interest are human beings. Dutch needs all of his combat experience and sums up all of his strength he has to survive against the wrath of the hostile advanced alien hunter. Stan Winston's creature effects are beyond expression, as it is considered one of his best works. The exhilarating action and pacey storyline make The Predator a smashing hit and a classic of its decade. Tremors, released in 1990. Tremors is the first of the 5 direct-to-video sequels with one prequel. The American horror comedy was released in 1990 and directed by Rob Underwood, highlighting giant worm-like monsters called graboids, hungry for human flesh.
Hey! Are you okay? Yeah, what about
A group of people living in a small peaceful town named Perfection in Nevada gradually becomes paranoid as they become aware of a strange creature killing people and animals one by one. A seismologist living and working in the area detects tremors created by the monster creatures that live underground and appear without any warning. Val and Earl eventually confront the creepy tentacled creature feasting on some road crew as they hurried back to town and spread the news. The graboids are quite intelligent as they learn fast while stalking their prey. Human beings used to be and need to be highly alert to survive while they come up with plans to defeat them.
Must be a million of them. Nope, just one.
A horror comedy is always welcome as it brings a pool of fresh air to the usual gore and violence of the horror genre. The film creates fits of fun as well as pays tribute to the horror genre. The creature features bring back the early memories when horror was more popular. The movie has suspense, packed action, humor, and quirky characters with excellent performances. Sputnik, released in 2020. An incredible effort by the debutant director Igor Abramenko. Sputnik bears an extreme sense of dread from the moment the film commences. This 2020 Russian movie provides a realistic alien creature and brings us a delightful and entertaining movie. Back in 1983, a Soviet cosmonaut, Konstantin, returns from a space mission when something happens as he loses consciousness for a while. After landing on Earth, he finds his mission partner dead. He is isolated in a remote military base, and psychologist Tatiana Klimova is summoned to retrieve his memory as he doesn't remember anything. She slowly learns that there is more to Konstantin's story than she's informed. He has brought something potentially dangerous along with him. It is a symbiote craving for human flesh. He can read and hear his mind. Even after exiting his body, a symbiotic connection is maintained between them. Even though the story and ideas may have not been completely original, Sputnik blends the borrowings efficiently and generates an extremely terrifying and satisfying experience. The strong performances, appropriate production design, and somber cinematography have been appreciated even by the critics themselves. Jurassic Park, released in 1993. Jurassic Park is one of the greatest blockbusters ever produced in the history of cinema. The Steven Spielberg film takes us to the world of dinosaurs, where some are timid herbivores while some are aggressive carnivores. This is a movie where everything is perfect and teaches us that no matter how much science and technology advances, nature rules. A billionaire entrepreneur, John Hammond, secretly created a theme park with live dinosaurs genetically engineered from the prehistoric DNA. Before the inauguration of the park to the public, Hammond invites paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant, the paleobotanist Dr. Ellie Settler, and the mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm, and his two eager grandchildren to experience the park. Things go terribly wrong when the entire computing system malfunctions and frees the ultimate apex predator, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which starts a rampage in search of fresh meat and for sport. Malcolm is hurt while Grant and the children are lost in the park. The situation is further worsened as they find out that Nedry had deliberately locked the computer system to cover his tracks for stealing the embryo. Everything is perfect in the movie as it bagged 44 awards total, including 3 Oscar awards. But evidently, the real stars of the film are the different dinosaurs, especially the T-Rex, as the combination of computer animation and model is highly innovative and inspiring.
Turn off on position Miracle Mile. Turn off for holding the coastline.
Pacific Rim, released in 2013. Pacific Rim is an American sci-fi monster film directed by Guillermo del Toro and the original film of the Pacific Rim franchise. Somewhere in the future, the Earth is battling a kaiju, a colossal sea monster who has appeared from the interdimensional portal from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. In order to protect the Earth from the kaiju, massive complex robots have been built that require 2 pilots, whose minds are neutrally linked. These defense mechanisms are called Jaegers. With time, the kaiju attack becomes more frequent and powerful, and thus the former Jaeger pilot, Raleigh Beckett, is reactivated as a final plan is made to destroy the portal. In the meantime, one of the scientists finds a way to create a link to the kaiju's mind and retrieve information about them. Unfortunately, it leads to sharing of vital information from both sides as a final battle becomes inevitable. Del Toro takes inspiration from previous films and takes the story to the next level. The movie ensures entertainment from the beginning till the end. CGI has been magnificently used as the monsters, the robots, and the destroyed cities appear entirely realistic. The battle sequences are perfectly managed, especially the underwater end sequences that steals the show. It's classic horror. Clash of the Titans, released in 2010. This Australian-American production by Louis Lederer, released in 2010, is a remake of the 1981 film of the same name. The film, loosely based on the Greek myth of Perseus, tells the story of the demigod Perseus, who is desperate to take revenge and stop Hades, the vengeful ruler of the underworld, from further conquests. Perseus, the demigod son of the powerful king of gods, Zeus, was raised by humans. He swore to take revenge on Hades and his underworld kingdom as he was responsible for his family's death. The city of Argos transformed into a battlefield as mankind turned rebellious against the gods of Olympus. Soon, Perseus was approached by King Cepheus, who emerged victorious against the gods. He sought Perseus's help as Hades threatened to unleash the ferocious legendary sea monster Kraken, unless his daughter, Princess Andromeda, offered herself as a sacrifice. Perseus accepted the challenge and discovered how to slaughter the Kraken. By getting hold of the Gorgon Medusa's head, was it enough to save humanity from the Clash of the Titans? The 2010 remake is incredible in costume and set designs, and some breathtaking special effects as the mythological creatures like Medusa, Kraken, giant scorpions come alive in 3D. This light-hearted film is an action-packed and nostalgic film. Slither, released in 2006. Despite being a box office failure, Slither received highly positive feedback from critics, earning a cult reputation. This American sci-fi horror movie, written and directed by James Gunn, depicts a small town in South Carolina that experiences the invasion of a vicious alien parasite. A meteorite crashes on Earth as a malicious receptive extraterrestrial parasite enters the town of Wheelsey in South Carolina and infects Grant, an affluent resident of the town, conquering his mind and body. He slowly turns into a ghastly tentacled monster and ends up kidnapping a local woman, Brenda, for reproducing alien larvae. Eventually, through Grant, the parasite starts caring about his wife Starla and hides the truth from her. But Starla grows suspicious of the change in Grant's appearance and behavior. That led her to being attacked by Grant. Grant escapes as the police come to her rescue. Soon, the police discover slug-like larvae burst out from Brenda's body that start infesting the townspeople. The parasite conquers life forms and uses them for breeding Grant's larvae. The infected people become a part of the hive mind controlled by the parasite. Slither is a well-directed film with exciting cinematography, shocking special effects, and dark humor. Though the story is considered to be inspired by many horror and sci-fi films, yet Slither turns out to be a perfect blend. Superdeep, released in 2021. We are back with another Russian horror movie on the list, directed by Arseny Syun. Based on a real-life project of Kola Superdeep borehole, this 2021 film is set in 1984, where a Soviet research team was sent to investigate a suspicious phenomena in the world's deepest hole, while something gruesome was about to be revealed. Anya Fedorova is a famous epidemiologist working in the Soviet Union during the Gorbachev era. She is recruited as a part of the team who is supposed to be investigating some identified phenomenon in a lab located 12,000 meters deep, where a military bioexperiment is being carried out. As they arrive at the location, a scientist blows himself up with a grenade. The lab experiments are being conducted at a deep level where the temperature is about 200 degrees Celsius, requiring special suits. As the prominent crew members are being evacuated, Anya comes across a survivor, Olga, found with a vast fungal growth on her back. Test results came back and revealed that a parasitic fungus is consuming her cellular tissue at a fast rate. Soon the lab walls are covered with mold while Olga lies half molten on the floor as she releases a cloud of spores. Though the story's background is from real life, the plot is highly inspired by The Thing by John Carpenter. Nevertheless, the film has overwhelming visuals and special effects that make it worth a watch. Basket Case, released in 1982. The Basket Case was written and directed by Henenlotter. in 1982. The film centered on Dwayne Bradley, featured by Kevin Von Hentenrich, as he arrived in New York City with a basket containing his conjoined twin, Belial, forcefully separated from him by an operation
Upon me, that when I waked, I cried to dream again.
Belial and Dwayne were conjoined twins in Glen Falls, whose mother died as soon as they were born. Belial, having a deformed head with a pair of hands, was attached to the right side of Dwayne. Belial's appearance was so disgusting and monstrous that even their own father despised them. The two brothers not only shared flesh and tissues, but they were also connected telepathically, as they could feel each other's emotions. The three doctors, Dr. Lee Flander, Dr. Needleman, and Dr. Cutter, agreed to operate and separate them at their father's request, and then proceeding to throw Belial in the garbage. After regaining consciousness, Dwayne ran in deeper to look for Belial, and to his surprise, found Belial alive in the plastic bag. Belial acquired a vengeance towards the world from that moment, and the brothers visited New York to take revenge on the doctors who had operated illegally. Despite the low budget and the minimum crew, the film left a heavy impact on the viewers. Basket Case is one of those rare horror films which puts you through so many emotions that you just can't take the movie out of your mind right away. The Fly, released in 1986. The film, loosely based on a short story by George Langland and a 1958 film of the same title, was released in 1986 and directed and co-written by David Cronenberg. This is the story of an eccentric genius scientist whose experiment goes terribly wrong, transforming him into a fly-like hybrid creature. Brilliant, mad scientist Seth Brundle invents two pods that are able to teleport objects between them. Though the inanimate objects are teleported perfectly, a baboon was ripped apart while being teleported. Seth discovers that a synthetic version of the object was being produced instead of teleporting the object itself. He alters his programming, and this time a second baboon is successfully transported. One day, a drunk Seth decides to teleport himself, unaware of the fact that a housefly is present in the telepod with him. Soon, Seth starts exhibiting sugar cravings, becomes stronger and agile, in which he believes resulted from the purification of his body through teleportation. But his girlfriend, Ronnie, becomes worried as Seth loses sanity, starts growing strange hairs on his back, and becomes aggressive and tries to force other people to undergo teleportation. The Fly received tremendous positive feedback from both the critics and the audience, with special appreciation for the special effects and Jeff Goldblum's performance. The film won the Best Makeup Award at the Oscars and grossed $60.6 million against a budget of $9 million. The Ritual, released in 2017. The Ritual is a 2017 British horror film directed by David Bruckner and written by Joe Barton, based on the 2011 novel of the same name by Adam Neville. As four friends set out to hike the Swedish wilderness, they become part of a ritual involving a Jotun. After the death of their friend, Rob, the four friends, Phil, Luke, Dom, and Hutch, went on a hiking trip to northern Sweden. A day later, Dom injured his knee, and so the friends decided to take a shortcut through the forest. On entering the forest, the group entered a gutted elk hanging from branches, with bizarre symbols engraved on the trees. A torrential downpour compelled the group to take shelter in an abandoned cabin. In the cabin too, they found strange necklaces and statues made from human torso. The following day, they found Luke's chest bleeding from strange wounds. While naked, Phil was praying in front of the statue, and every one of them had bad nightmares. Hutch was gutted and impaled on tree branches while the creature dragged Phil away. They were about to find out that they were chosen for a ritual for Jotun, an ancient god-like entity. With an unusual and unexpected beginning, the film brings the audience rising horror, a feeling of impending doom. The monster creature was absolutely terrifying, creating an atmosphere of suspense and fear. Gremlins, released in 1984. Another horror comedy on the list is Gremlins, directed by Joe Dante and Chris Columbus. This 1984 film reveals a strange creature in the form of a pet, which eventually spawns other aggressive monstrous creatures that wreak havoc massively on the town. Struggling inventor Randall Peltzar buys a Malgui from a Chinatown antique store with 3 warnings. The Malgui should not be exposed to sunlight. It should not come in contact with water and should never be fed after midnight. Randall gifts the Mowgli to his son Billy and tells him the rules. As Billy's young friend Pete accidentally spills water on it, 5 more Mowgli spawn from its back. Billy shows the Mowgli to his former science teacher, Mr. Hansen, breeding another Mowgli on which he performs experiments. Unfortunately, Billy is tricked by the most troublemaking Mowgli named Stripe into feeding them after midnight. Soon they form cocoons, which hatch to form reptilian monsters called Gremlins, which Billy and his girlfriend Kate kill. Stripe jumps into a pool, creating an army of Gremlins that start a rampage in the town, killing and injuring many people. The story is funny and inventive as it grows from a simple fact and emerges into a classic horror show. The cute Mowgli giving rise to monstrous Gremlins is the main attraction of the film. A Quiet Place, released in 2018. A Quiet Place is an extraordinary, innovative sci-fi horror film directed by John Krasinski and written by Brian Woods, Scott Beck, and Krasinski. The story, released in 2018, highlights the struggle of a father and mother in raising their children in a post-apocalyptic Earth full of blind monsters with an enhanced sense of hearing. Sightless extraterrestrials with extremely sharp ears have conquered the planet and killed most of the human population. The Abbott family lives in an isolated farmhouse in the middle of the forest, maintaining silence for their survival. Lee and Evelyn are the parents whose daughter, while Reagan is deaf. While one of the 2 sons was killed by the monster alien when he accidentally played with a rocket toy and made noise, one day when Lee and the other son Marcus are gone fishing, Evelyn goes into labor. While downstairs, she accidentally steps on a nail, and even if she controlled her scream then, she drops the picture frame she was holding. Soon, an alien enters the house as Evelyn manages to turn on the red warning lights that will alert her family. This is one of the more brilliant and unique films ever produced in the history of horror films. The lack of dialogues and usage of expressions and body language to do the talking was incredibly well done. The film generates nerve-wracking suspense and unbearable tension, being one of the best horror thrillers ever produced. King Kong, released in 2005, another legendary creature besides Godzilla that has ruled the horror world is King Kong. The 2005 epic monster film is co-written, produced, and directed by Peter Jackson. The film is in the 8th entry as the King Kong franchise, and a second remake of the 1933 classic film of the same title. Set in the year 1933, filmmaker Carl Denham hires actress Ann Darrow to star in his film, as the filming takes place on the SS Venture. Carl pretended to be sailing to Singapore, but he was intended to set sail and film the mysterious Skull Island in reality. The captain of the ship receives a radio message informing the issuance of a warrant to arrest Carl. As the ship turns Rangoon, the ship is lost in the fog and enters the vicinity of Skull Island. Soon, a native sneaks into the ship, proceeding to kidnap Anne as offering a sacrifice to the monster King Kong. Though initially petrified, Anne soon becomes emotionally attached to the mighty monster. As a rescue mission is initiated, Anne's companions confront a herd of dinosaurs who are enemies of King Kong. King Kong is a childhood favorite of many. Add to that the amazing CGI effects, and the end result is a blockbuster. King Kong is one of those monster movies who runs a lovely story parallel to horror, and that's what sets it apart from other films in the same genre. Jeepers Creepers, released in 2001. A 2001 American horror film, Jeepers Creepers, is written and directed by Victor Salva. A story follows siblings, pursued by the Creeper, which is a monstrous creature and a mysterious serial killer. Trish and Derry Jenner are siblings returning home from their college for spring break. On their way home, a truck driver overtakes them dangerously. Later, the truck is seen parked next to an abandoned church. The driver seemed to dispose bodies wrapped in blood-stained sheets into a large pipe. The intrigued siblings went back to the church and found hundreds of dead bodies at the bottom of the pipe. They contact the police, but before the police could reach, the church catches fire, burning all the evidence of the crime. Soon, the truck driver attacks and kills all the police. As the brother and sister escape from the spot, they sought the help of another elderly woman, but the driver kills her too. Trish repeatedly hits him with the car, but finds his giant wings tearing through his coat. They eventually learn that the driver is an ancient creature who wakes up every 23 springs for 23 days to feast on human body parts.
The movie moves away from the graphic gore and goes for a serious approach. The beginning of the movie may convince you that it is a slasher, but eventually, the monster fact is discovered as the plot reveals slowly. The Descent, released in 2005. Written and directed by Neil Marshall, The Descent is a British horror film released in 2005 and tells the story of 6 women entering a cavern and battling to survive against hostile humanoid creatures dwelling inside. Sarah, Juno, Beth, Sam, Rebecca, and Holly are out for an adventure in the cavern of the Appalachian Mountains. After the group moves forward through a narrow passage, it collapses and traps them. Juno admits that it was her idea to lead the group into an unknown cavern as she needed time to settle her strained relationship with Sarah. Inside the cavern, the group encounters a humanoid creature called a crawler, which feeds on human flesh. Soon, the crawlers start attacking the women one by one, as they are mauled and eaten by the creatures. Juno, while fighting back, accidentally strikes Ben in the neck and leaves her bleeding to death. Amidst the life-threatening horror, Sarah is in utter shock when she learns that Juno was having an affair with her husband. As soon as the storyline enters the cavern, the dark, gloomy, claustrophobic mood sets in. The film offers everything that should be present in a horror movie: thrills, chills, drama, and lots of bloody gore.
They fly! They freaking fly!
The Cave, released in 2005. The Cave, released in 2005, almost has the same plot as The Descent. The difference in the story is that a group of scientists were trapped in a cave system in Romania while they encounter deadly creatures. An Eastern Orthodox abbey in the 13th century Carpathian Mountains was destroyed in a landslide. Centuries later, another group descends into the cave but gets trapped inside. In the present day, a new team of scientists is exploring the site. Inside the cave, they are attacked by a large unknown creature. Next, they discovered a strange parasite in all of the life forms. Scientist Jennings believe that the new parasite has never been exposed to the outside world, but something scarier awaits them. The group realizes that all those infected by the parasite have mutated to form human-like demons, whose images were depicted on the mosaic of the abbey's floor. The Cave is very similar to The Descent, with an ideal atmosphere, impressive underwater footage, excellent cinematography, and decent monster designs. The film is directed by Bruce Hunt and written by Michael Steinberg and Tegan West, and grossed $33.3 million against a budget of $30 million. The Mist. Released in 2007, it is sufficient to say that The Mist is an adaptation of a 1980 Stephen King novel. It is a 2007 film rewritten and directed by Frank Darabont. After a thunderstorm, a small town is enveloped by an unnatural mist, concealing monsters from an unknown dimension. Another small town in Maine is hit by a violent thunderstorm. The next morning, a thick and unnatural mist enveloped the small town. Some local people get stranded in a grocery store, including artist David Drayton and his son. The local people, to their horror, discover that numerous species of hostile, horrific creatures live within the mist that came through an interdimensional rift. The interdimensional rift was the result of an unsuccessful experimental project conducted by a nearby military base. The frightened people struggle for their existence against the monsters that appear out of the mist. Crazy Mrs. Carmody gathers followers and worsens the situations, as David leaves the supermarket and reaches for his car to escape the mist. The adaptation of the Stephen King novel with a high level of precision is the best thing about the movie. The director has given equal priority to the characters as the creatures, which is rarely seen in a horror film. Pumpkinhead, released in 1988. Inspired by the poem, Pumpkinhead is an American supernatural horror movie released in 1988 and directed by the debutant director Stan Winston, a skilled special effects artist. The film features the monstrous evil creature Pumpkinhead, also called the Monster of Vengeance, summoned by anyone seeking the revenge on the persons who had wronged them.
Ed Harley, owning a small store in the country, was forced to leave his young son, Billy, alone while running errands. A group of teenage campers, while riding their dirt bikes, imposed fatal injuries on Harley's son. A devastated Harley requested the witch for vengeance, who agreed but also warned him that the revenge would come at a terrible cost. He followed her orders and went to an old graveyard in the mountains, where he dug up a distorted corpse and brought it back to the witch. The witch took the blood from Harley, and his son resurrected the corpse, which rose as the gangly monstrous creature, the Pumpkinhead. The Pumpkinhead could not be stopped unless its vengeance was completed, while anyone trying to stop him would get killed. Most horror fans look forward to a unique creature in many horror films, and the Pumpkinhead was definitely one with such amazingly successful and impactful creatures. The film also received significant positive feedback from the critics, especially appreciating Winston for his unique creation of the Pumpkinhead. The Relic, released in 1997. This is a spine-chilling story of a South American lizard-like monster on a rampage in the Chicago Museum. The American monster film, The Relic, was directed by Peter Hyams based on a 1995 bestseller by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. Cargo of relics from South America returns to the United States. Police find decapitated bodies in the ship. When a similar murder occurs at the Chicago Museum, Lieutenant D'Agosta closes the museum on suspicion of a psycho killer. Political pressure to keep the museum open for an opening gala for Chicago's wealthy and famous people forces D'Agosta to succumb, but many policemen are positioned in the museum to solve the problem. Meanwhile, scientist Margot Green suspects more mysteriously empty boxes of leaves, investigating the possibility that the leaf virus caused the emergence of the mythical forest monster Cthulhu, which feeds on human hypothalami. This is a well-made monster movie. Being a master of horror, director Peter Hyams creates a beautiful sequence of sounds and shadows that are amazing. The monster in the film is another fantastic Stan Winston creature. This is a transition period that attempts to combine mechanical physics models with animation. Wishmaster, released in 1997. Wishmaster is a 1997 fantasy horror film directed by Robert Kurtzman. The storyline concerns a djinn, who can grant wishes and is released from a precious stone. It is determined to enslave the soul of the woman who releases him and wreak havoc on the people of Earth.
If you harm Shannon, I'll kill you.
Spare me, child.
In ancient Persia, an evil djinn goes on a rampage, destroying the local kingdom until he is captured and sealed inside a fire opal. After many centuries, the statue where the stone was hidden is broken in a loading accident. A young gemologist, Alexandra Amberson, while examining the stone, accidentally awakens the djinn inside. Soon he is back on his rampage, killing people and stealing their souls. Eventually, he disguises himself as a sophisticated inhabitant of the town named Nathaniel Demarest. He pursues Alexandra in human and djinn form to trick her into making 3 wishes, which will fulfill his earnest desire to conquer mankind. The film has horror and humor, original deaths, fascinating special effects, and a refreshing story. The critics considered the djinn to be inspired from Pinhead and Freddy Krueger. The movie is followed by 3 sequels and grossed $15.7 million against a budget of $5 million. The Silence, released in 2019. Resembling the storyline of The Quiet Place comes the next 2019 film, The Silence. Directed by John R. Leonetti, the movie highlights our planet under attack by monsters who hunt people by sound. The film is adapted from a story of the same name by Tim LeBon. An unknown species named Vesps was accidentally released from a cave by a group of cave research teams. They slaughtered the researchers ruthlessly and flew out of the cave in search of the noisiest area. After the government learned that the noise attracted the creatures, they requested people to stay home and maintain silence. The constructor, Hugh Andrews, intended to move to the quiet countryside with his family, consisting of his teenage daughter, who lost her hearing in an accident, his son, wife, and mother-in-law, suffering from lung cancer, and their dog Otis. He was also joined by his friend Glenn in his own car. But it is not easy to maintain silence as the dog barked and his mother-in-law coughed, and Glenn met with an accident attracting the Vesps. If you love The Quiet Place, then you will like this film too. In this film, we are once again reminded of how desperately people are adapted to change when it comes to struggling for existence. The excellent performance in the film makes it an enjoyable watch.
Beep, beep, Richie.
It, released in 2017. It is another adaptation from the masterpiece novel of Stephen King with the same name. The 2017 American blockbuster, directed by Andy Muschietti, introduces a monster disguised as a clown, Pennywise, capable of shapeshifting into your darkest scare. Things are not right for the town of Derry, which outwardly appears peaceful, but numerous kids disappear, terrorizing the town community. After the 6-year-old innocent Georgie Dembro died recently, his older brother, Bill, teams up with bullied kids, calling themselves the Losers Club. One of Bill's classmates reveals that the tragedies of disappearing children have occurred in the town for centuries. When the group meet, they realize that each one of them has been haunted by the manifestations of the evil clown, Pennywise. They refer to the entity as It. They discover that It hibernates and wakes up every 27 years to feed on the children of Derry, while it moves along a sewer line that leads to an abandoned house on Neibolt Street. The massive blockbuster was flooded with praise for its direction, performance, screenplay, cinematography, and musical score. Associating a clown with a smiling face with such menace is such a nightmare, setting the film apart in the world of cinema. This suspense throughout the movie is nerve-wracking and spine-chilling. Leviathan, released in 1989. The monster creature of Leviathan puts just another feather in the cap of the legendary Stan Winston. The film tells the story of the crew of an underwater geological facility attacked and slaughtered by a horrifying mutant creature. Released in 1989, Leviathan is directed by George P. Cosmatos, while it was written by David Webb Peoples and Jeb Stewart. The CEO of Tri-Oceanic Corps hires geologist Stephen Beck to supervise a mining operation under the sea for 3 months. While working outside their station, the mining crew discovers a Soviet ship that has been wrecked, named Leviathan. The crew comes across a safe from the Leviathan, where they find records of several crew deaths, a video blog of the captain, and a bottle of vodka. As Doc and Beck check the video, Six-Pack shares the vodka with Bowman.
I'm gonna take a little skin sample here. Just a second. Steady, Six-Pack. Try to do this.
Six-Pack becomes sick in the morning and dies, but Doc and Beck keep quiet to avoid panic. Soon, Bowman starts feeling ill too, and she killed herself. The crew, to their horror, discovered their dead bodies mutating. They realized that the Leviathan was experimenting with mutagens that were mixed in vodka. Soon, a lamprey-like creature starts attacking the remaining crew members. Though, the movie follows a slow pace. It is beautifully shot. The creature effects by Stan Winston were amazingly realized and stole the show. Starship Troopers, released in 1997. Set on futuristic Earth, a group of friends joins the military service to earn citizenship. Starship Troopers follows their tale in a war between mankind and an insectoid species called arachnids. The film, released in 1997, is directed by Paul Verhoeven and written by Edward Neumeier. Johnny Rico and his girlfriend Carmen join the military service in the 23rd century to become class citizens. But Carmen becomes a spaceship pilot while Rico is enlisted in the mobile infantry. Due to a mishap, Rico was demoted and flogged as he decided to quit the military forces. But an asteroid originating from the planet Klendathu hits the hometown of Buenos Aires, killing his parents. Johnny and his fellow troopers set out on a mission to destroy the inhabitants of the planet Klendathu, which are deadly huge space bugs, for whom the entire universe is a feeding ground. But this operation, led by humans, was a disaster as the human beings had underestimated the arachnids. The film had a great cast. delivers violence, depth of characters, and great CGI representing the bugs. What else do you need in a sci-fi horror film when you have the battle, the gore, and the cheesy story? Deep Rising, released in 1998. Deep Rising is an action horror film released in 1998. Written and directed by Steven Sommers, the film highlights a group of mercenaries who intended to loot a luxury cruise ship, landed there only to be attacked by unknown creatures. Captain John Finnegan and his crew are recruited by mercenaries Hanover, Mulligan, Mason, Billy, T-Ray, Mamuli, and Vivo to steer their boat into a storm across the South China Sea. Meanwhile, Argonautica, a luxury cruise ship built and owned by Simon Canton, starts its inaugural voyage. Someone sabotaged the ship and disabled the navigation and communication system of the ship. Meanwhile, the passengers of the ship are attacked and slaughtered by unseen creatures. Soon, the mercenaries declare that they intended to loot the Argonautica, but on entering the ship, the group gets trapped inside the house while they are killed by monster creatures one by one. The creatures resemble giant spike-covered tentacles and are the extreme evolution of an Otoya. They drain their victims of body fluids and throw away the carcasses. This is a typical enjoyable B film that sticks to the action formula with surprises, nasty sea creatures, and a satisfying CGI effects. It has thrills, chills, and some noisy action and violent slaughters, very much like any other horror movie you watch for mere entertainment. Mimic, released in 1997. The American sci-fi horror film depicts the dark side of science. Released in 1997, written and directed by Guillermo del Toro, the film centers around a hybrid created to exterminate cockroaches that mutates to form deadly creatures that start killing people.
No! You will not hurt him! No! Turn around!
In Manhattan, a deadly disease called Strickler's disease was rapidly spreading and taking the lives of hundreds of children. Dr. Peter Mann recruited an entomologist, Dr. Susan Tyler, who used genetic engineering and created the Judas breed, a hybrid between a mantis and termite that eradicated cockroaches successfully. Susan again encountered the Judas breed 3 years later. Though they were created with a short lifespan, soon Susan realized that they had developed into a separate species, with a huge colony underneath the city. Susan theorized that the Judas breed had evolved in 3 years. Their accelerated metabolism had also increased their reproduction rate, developing both lungs and their ability to mimic their human prey. The film should be avoided if you hate insects. The icky and slimy creatures are everywhere. While the film quite frequently zooms in on their ugly features, there is no excessive gore, but it is used occasionally and effectively. The special effects on the film are incredible, surpassing many previous horror films. Beast, released in 2005. Beast is a 2005 American action horror comedy directed by John Gulager and written by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. It depicts the story of a group of people gathered inside a local bar in Nevada, where monster creatures start suddenly ambushing them. As the people who enjoy drinks in a bar in Nevada, a man enters the bar covered in blood and warns the people about the monster that is about to attack. No one pays any attention to his warnings as he is pulled through a window and decapitated by the monster.
I'm the guy that's gonna save your ass.
The bar patrons start boarding the windows of the bar, but a young monster bursts through an open window and begins attacking. Somehow, the monster is trapped inside a freezer. They are unable to call for help as the phone was shot and rendered useless. One of the women suddenly realizes that her son is upstairs. She runs upstairs and finds her child, but a monster pulls the child through a window and eats him. Another bizarre fact about the monsters is that they reproduce within seconds. Feast doesn't have a proper storyline, but the non-stop action and gore hardly give you the time to realize that. There is some humor, but there are some bloody scenes that will add to your adrenaline rush. An American Werewolf in London, released in 1981. Released in August of 1981, An American Werewolf in London is written and directed by John Landis, although he had finished the screenplay more than a decade ago. The classic story follows two American college students, Jack and David, who went traveling and trekking in England, attacked by a werewolf. David Kessler and Jack Goodman were two American backpackers from New York, hiking through the Yorkshire moors in North England. The two men followed the road, but they were soon disoriented due to the rain and fog getting denser, and landed in the moors. Soon, they were attacked by a werewolf who killed Jack and scratched David, but fortunately he was saved by the locals as they fired gunshots and killed the werewolf. Before losing consciousness, David just managed to see the proper human form of the werewolf, lying naked, blood-covered, and beside him. In the hospital, David encountered Jack's ghost, who warned him that a werewolf had attacked them, and David would soon transform into a werewolf on the next full moon. The werewolf's curse would continue unless David killed himself and discontinued the bloodline, or else he would hurt innocent people. The film is considered a classic of all times, not bound within its time limits. The effort, hard work, efficiency, and precision of artists of the pre-CGI era are incredible. The film touches all the chords of emotion and creates an everlasting symphony that has impacted horror fans for decades. Cloverfield, released in 2008. A unique horror monster film using found footage, Cloverfield is directed by Matt Reeves and written by Drew Goddard. During their farewell party, the film captures 6 New York City residents struggling against a massive monster and other small creatures. The film, presented in the form of footage from a camcorder, is recovered by the United States Department of Defense, bearing the footage of a case in Cloverfield. A farewell party was organized for Rob by his brother and his girlfriend, Billy, celebrating his job in Japan. Soon there is an explosion, and eventually the severed head of the Statue of Liberty is hurled onto the streets. The footage captures an enormous creature collapsing the Woolworth building, as its tail destroys the Brooklyn Bridge, also killing Jason and several other people. As the military attacks the monster, smaller parasitic creatures fall from the creature's body and attacks other people. Chaos and confusion roll over the city as people are killed and injured in the creature's rampage. The film is a standard creature feature with a different concept of found footage. The special effects are given a real-life approach, giving a documentary effect that makes it a unique watch. Splinter, released in 2008. Splinter is a typical horror monster film, directed and co-written by Toby Wilkins, which was released in 2008. This movie is about a Splinter monster that has strange characteristics, making it deadly and destructive. The attendant of a gas station is attacked by a Splinter-infected animal. Distorting his body, Seth Belzer and Polywat are driving for a camping trip up in the forest, when another infamous couple, Dennis and Lacey, are forced into their car, but their car gets a flat tire as it runs over a Splinter-infected animal.
You're gonna help her.
They find the shelter in the same gas station where Lacey is attacked by the monster and killed, but her corpse reanimates and becomes another monster, attacking the remaining survivors. Everyone was surprised and horrified to see that even the severed pieces of infected victims were attacking others. Seth finds out that the creatures are actually a fungus that consume the blood of the infested victim, and the infected host seeks out fresh hosts. They hunt based on temperature as they attack the warmest thing they come across. The monster effects are genuinely effective, while the script, performance, and characters are original and interesting, which is quite refreshing. The film reminds you of the classic horror films of the 90s. The Babadook, released in 2014. The Babadook reveals the story of a strange monster creature from a storybook that haunts a child and his mother. The 2014 film, written and directed by Jennifer Kent. 6-year-old Samuel and her widow mother, Amelia, live in the Australian city of Adelaide. Amelia is exhausted as she raises her child alone, but Sam seems to be obsessed with some imaginary monster, as he is busy building weapons against it. One day, Sam asks his mother to read a storybook called Mr. Babadook. It describes the titular monster as a pale-faced, tall humanoid wearing a tall hat and possessing taloned fingers, torturing his victim. Amelia is disturbed by the book while Sam is convinced of the presence of the Babadook. Soon, mysterious events start occurring in the house as the doors open and close by themselves. Strange sounds are heard and Amelia finds broken glass in her food. Sam blames the Babadook for the incidents, and Amelia rips the storybook and throws it away. But the book is reassembled and kept on the front doorstep. This is a very different horror film, lacking the usual thrills and frights. The director builds up the suspense slowly through the film. The film has many layers and is open to various interpretations. Cold Skin, released in 2017. Cold Skin is a totally different monster movie that evokes a thought process about who the real monster is in the film. Cold Skin is a 2017 French-Spanish sci-fi horror film directed by Xavier Gens, taken from a 2002 novel of a similar name by Albert Sanchez Piñol. Set in the year 1914, a young Englishman reaches a deserted island in the South Atlantic Ocean to work as a weather observer. Gruner, the caretaker of the lighthouse, who seemed to be the island's only inhabitant, states the previous island's inhabitant died of typhus. Soon, his abandoned cabin is reportedly attacked by unknown creatures, and on the second night, the observer sets fire to his cabin, causing the creatures to flee. But the cabin is destroyed. The following morning, as he followed Gruner, he saw a female sea creature. Gruner stops him from firing at her, stating that she is like a dog and Gruner is her master. Gruner allows him to stay in the lighthouse, but the creatures keep coming to the lighthouse, probably because they want to reclaim their female. Observer noticed that Gruner abuses the female creature, physically and sexually. Every night, Observer and Gruner kill many creatures as they try to climb up the lighthouse. The film compels you to think whether the creatures or Gruner is the monster. Nothing is actually known about the creature or whether the attack was based on the wailing song of Aneris, the female creature. But it is hard to apprehend the true identity of the monster, sea creatures, or Gruner. Pitch Black, released in 2000. Pitch Black is a sci-fi action horror film directed and co-written by David Twohy, released in 2000. A spaceship is carrying a dangerous criminal, and Richard B. Riddick makes an emergency crash landing on a deserted planet. The alien creatures of the planet begin attacking the survivors. Set in the distant future, spaceship Hunter Grantzner is transporting passengers in cryostasis, including Officer William J. Johns escorting the infamous criminal Riddick. Riddick has surgically modified eyes, enabling him to see in the dark, but his eyes have become light-sensitive. Micrometeoroids hit the spaceship, killing the captain, while the co-pilot Owen was forced to crash land on a nearby planet. As they start exploring the planet, they are ambushed by photosensitive, aggressive underground creatures. There were 3 suns, but an Ori shows that an imminent eclipse will create darkness, and the creature monsters will be free to hunt above the ground. Photosensitive Riddick is their only hope for survival amidst the pitch black environment in the planet of this total eclipse. Even after 21 years, Pitch Black stands strong and has become the new classic. The story is highly engaging with good effects and a fantastic cast with Vin Diesel, Radha Mitchell, Cole Hauser, and Keith David. Anaconda, released in 1997. No matter what the critics said, Anaconda was a great box office success and has become a cult classic. This 1997 blockbuster is directed by Luis Loza and stars Jennifer Lopez. It follows a documentary film crew in the Amazon rainforest captured by a snake hunter. Hunting for the legendary green anaconda. A film crew sailing down the Amazon River intends to shoot a documentary film on the long-lost Amazonian tribe of the Shirishamas, under the direction of Terry Flores. Eventually, they are joined by the stranded snake hunter Paul Cerrone, who also promised the crew to lead them to the tribe. None of the crew is comfortable around Cerrone, but he managed to save anthropologist Kale's life, making the crew grateful to him. But shortly, he takes control of the boat and reveals his true intentions of capturing a live green giant anaconda of record-breaking length that he has been tracking for some time. The boat unfortunately gets stuck in the river as the devastated crew prepares themselves to survive against the giant green anaconda that attacks the crew. The film gives you slithering chills and thrills, as the Anaconda introduces itself to the silver screen for the first time. The atmosphere of the jungle is astonishing as it scares you and mesmerizes you at the same time. Jaws, released in 1975. The earliest film on the list, Jaws, is just another masterpiece by Steven Spielberg. This 1975 horror thriller is based on the 1974 novel by Peter Benchley. The beautiful beach town crowded with tourists becomes a nightmare when a man-eating white shark starts attacking. It is the beginning of a new terror in the beach town of Amity Island, as the body parts of a young woman who gone skinny dipping are found on the shore. The mayor of the town persuades the police chief, Brody, to reverse his conclusion of a shark attack, as it would close the beach and ruin the summer economy. Soon, another boy is killed by the shark. When local fishermen hunt a tiger shark, the mayor announces that the beach is now totally safe. Meanwhile, oceanographer Matt Hooper is confident that the killings are the doings of a bigger shark, proven right when no human remains are found inside the tiger shark. On the July 4th weekend, the beach is packed, when the killer shark enters a lagoon and kills a boater. Brody, Hooper, and professional shark hunter Quint sail on Quint's boat to hunt the shark.
Now! Shoot!
With a budget of about $9 million, the film grossed around $472 million in the year 1975, as it became one of the greatest blockbusters of all time. The spectacular movie has everything you can imagine: spine-chilling thrill, nerve-wracking suspense, and heart-pounding horror. The Void, released in 2016. The Void is a Canadian Lovecraftian horror film released in 2016. Written and directed by Steven Kostanski. The story is about a small group of people trapped in a hospital surrounded by hooded cults and grisly creatures. Deputy Sheriff Carter finds a man named James crawling along the road and takes him to the hospital. The hospital has minimum staff as it's been mostly abandoned due to fire. The staff consists of Dr. Powell, Nurse Beverly, Student Kim, pregnant patient Maggie, and her grandfather Ben, and patient Cliff. Soon Carter finds that Beverly murders Cliff as she tries to attack Carter. He shoots her dead as Carter goes to his car to report Beverly's death. He is confronted by a robed cultist who injured him. Somehow he managed to return to the hospital as the cultists started to surround the hospital. Shortly, everyone is horrified and shocked to find that Beverly's corpse has been transformed into a tentacled creature, as it kills the state trooper Mitchell. The people who attacked James also reached the hospital to capture James as chaos and confusion prevailed there. You need to watch the movie to understand what this movie is really about. The movie is very well shot and directed. The rising dreadfulness and the overall tension make it a fantastic horror movie. The Howling, released in 1981. Another werewolf film on the list. The Howling was directed by Joe Dante and released in 1981. The film follows a television newswoman who was sent to a mountain resort. She was totally unaware of the resort's residents who were werewolves. Karen White, a Los Angeles television news anchor who helps the police shoot the serial killer Eddie Quist, loses her memory. Her therapist sends her to a scheduled resort in the countryside with her husband. The couple finds the colony full of strange characters. Karen's husband Bill is seduced by a neighbor, Marcia, who on refusal scratches Bill. Karen urgently summons her friend Terry, who connects the resort with Eddie through a sketch by him. Karen finds Bill's strange behavior, but Bill and Marcia, while intimidating, transform into werewolves in the moonlight. Terry is also attacked by the werewolf in the following day, though she escapes and calls Chris. Soon Terry is attacked and killed by the resurrected Eddie in werewolf form. Chris becomes aware that the colony is full of werewolves and sets off for the colony with silver bullets. This film offers some great special effects and makeup, a sharp and witty script. The werewolf transformations are quite imaginative and accomplished, making it another werewolf horror movie to look forward to. Q, The Winged Serpent, released in 1982. The Winged Serpent, known as Q, is an American monster horror film written, co-produced, and directed by Larry Cohen. A crook, Jimmy Quinn, knows the location of the lair of a giant winged deity monster who feasts on the innocent people of New York City. Chrysler Building in New York becomes the lair of the winged, dragon-like female Aztec god, Quetzalcoatl, as it devours helpless New Yorkers on the rooftop. Detectives Shepard and Powell are driven crazy by the increasing crime in New York, including murders related to a secret neo-Aztec cult. Meanwhile, a cheap crook, Quinn, by chance stumbles upon the creature's lair in the Chrysler window, containing a colossal egg. Quinn decides to make a deal with the city police against a huge sum of money so that he can settle down in the direction of the lair of the monster creature. Quinn makes a deal with the police for $1 million in exchange for showing the nest of the female creature. Though the police arrive and shoot the egg, the creature is still alive and nowhere to be found. The film is an excellent watch with an amazing and exciting story and entertaining characters. Apart from the science fiction angle, the plot of serial killing also runs simultaneously. The creature effects of the pre-CGI era give the extra pleasure of watching a monster on screen. The Host, released in 2006. The Host is a South Korean horror monster film and co-written by Bong Joon-ho. This 2006 film focuses on a desperate father whose daughter is kidnapped by a monster. The father keeps attempting to rescue his daughter from the clutches of the monster. A Korean assistant follows orders from the American military pathologist and dumps 200 bottles of formaldehyde in the drain that ends in the Han River. Within the next few years, a bizarre amphibious creature can be viewed in the waterway, as all the fish in the river die. A simple man, Park Gon-do, runs a small snack bar in a park near the Han River. Soon, a huge creature emerges from the river and starts attacking the people. It grabs his daughter, Hyun-so, and goes back into the water. The American military arrives and quarantines people who have come in contact with the monster, including Gong-do. The creature is considered to be the host of a deadly virus. In the meantime, Gong-do receives a phone call from Hyun-so, stating that she is confined in the sewers with the creature. Gong-do prepares to rescue his daughter and escapes from the hospital. The movie offers some extensive CGI effects and excellent filmmaking, presenting one of the best monsters ever produced. The movie is also revolving around the characters of an unconventional family, balancing both aspects pretty well. Attack the Block, released in 2011. Attack the Block is a British sci-fi horror thriller brimming with action. The debutant director-writer Joe Cornish has furnished a smart-to-the-point, new generation alien invasion thriller. The movie was released in May 2011 with a budget of £8 million. The 2011 film immediately gathered critical praise for director Joe Cornish and debutant actor John Boyega. A gang of 5 teenage hoodlums, Pest, Dennis, Biggs, Jerome, and their leader Moses, played by John Boyega, tried to mug Nurse Sam. During the struggle between Sam and the attacking gang, a meteorite-like thing crashed on a car parked nearby. An unforeseen dog-like hairless creature screeches and scratches Moses on the face. Infuriated by this sudden attack, the gang chased the beast and killed it. To their dismay, they saw more meteorite-like things falling from the sky, and the gang picked up weapons, ready to attack more aliens. But to their horror, this time, the alien creatures, unlike the previous animal, were gorilla-like, black, thick-coated, ferocious creatures with glowing fangs. The aliens followed Moses, ambushing everyone in the way. The decision of the filmmakers to use real people in gorilla-like suits and not computer graphics images was incredibly successful. The director didn't emphasize on the whereabouts of the aliens, but that didn't compromise the thrill of the adrenaline rush of the film. Cabin in the Woods, released in 2011. A group of students staying in a remote forest cabin are attacked by zombie-like monsters, while technicians control the events from the underground lab. This is the story of the American horror film, The Cabin in the Woods. Released in 2011, while it was written and co-written by Drew Goddard. Gary and Steve are engineers who discuss the plans for a strange ritual in an underground lab. American students Dana, Jules, Kurt, Holden, and Marty have decided to spend a weekend in the cabin in the forest. They are totally unaware that the cabin is controlled by other people. Gary and Steve intoxicate the students with mind-controlling drugs, as they discuss monsters that will attack them and failures of international operations. They found some strange objects in the cabin, including a diary of Patience Buckner, a former cabin resident, etc. Dana naively recites the spells from the diary and summons the monstrous zombified Beckner family. Soon zombie-like monsters start attacking the students and start killing them one by one. The special effects were convincing. While the atmosphere of the woods was highly authentic, the story and the terror with the twist were original and something interesting instead of the ordinary slasher horror. Pan's Labyrinth, released in 2006. Pan's Labyrinth is a dark fantasy film released in 2006, written, directed, and co-produced by Guillermo del Toro. The film brings to you the story of a young stepdaughter of an army officer who escapes into a strange fantasy world. In the year 1944, the Civil War ceased in Spain, but the rebels were still active in the mountains, fighting against the Falangist troop. Young and insightful Ophelia accompanies her pregnant mother to live with her cruel stepfather. At night, Ophelia meets a fairy who takes her to a maze where they meet a faun that states that Ophelia is a princess from an underground kingdom, where her true father is waiting for her. But before that, she reunites with her father and then returns to her kingdom. She must accomplish 3 tough and dangerous assignments. Meanwhile, she also befriends the servant Mercedes, whose brother is a rebel, and she supports the rebels too. Thus, Ophelia has her magical world through which she can become Princess Moana, while the world surrounding her is harsh, dark, and violent. The film appears gorgeous in one scene while gothic in another. The script is mysterious, suspenseful, with genuinely memorable characters and terrifying monsters. The dark fantasy images of the film remained in your mind for a long time. Dog Soldiers, released in 2002. This British action horror film was released in 2002 and written, directed, and edited by Neil Marshall. Dog Soldiers reveals the plot highlighting the special training program of the British soldiers, where they are attacked and assassinated by unseen assailants. Cooper is a British soldier, aspiring to join the special forces, but fails to do so when he refuses to shoot a dog. Soon, a troop of 6 soldiers, including Cooper, are sent for a training exercise against Special Air Service in the Scottish Highlands. But they find that the SAS unit has been destroyed by unseen assailants. While Cooper and his troop retreat, one of the soldiers, Bruce, is impaled on a tree and killed. Another soldier, Wells, is attacked and Cooper saves him, taking him into the roadside where they meet zoologist Megan, who takes them to an isolated house. Soon after darkness, the house is surrounded by the attackers, who are finally revealed to be werewolves. They have also destroyed the Land Rover so that the soldiers cannot escape. The soldiers desperately try to put up a defense till sunrise so that the werewolves turn back into their human form. Dog Soldiers is stylishly made, with beautiful location and very effective makeup, excellent dialogue, and a naturally flowing plot that makes it very enjoyable. The werewolves were terrifying, giving some thrilling and grisly moments. Hellboy, released in 2004. Another film written and directed by Guillermo del Toro is on the list, and American superhero film based on the Dark Horse novel, Hellboy: Seed of Destruction. This 2004 film centers on a superhero known as Hellboy, who secretly protects the world from paranormal hazards with the help of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. World War II has come to an end. 2 Nazi officers, Karl and Ilsa, initiate an experiment to raise the forces of hell through Russian evil mystic Rasputin. But the process is interrupted by Professor Trevor Bruttenholm. Nonetheless, he didn't kill the half-human, half-demonic creature that was accidentally created and raised him as Hellboy. Soon, Trevor became the head of the Bureau of Paranormal Research, which takes up research about paranormal freaks. A team is set up with Johnny, Hellboy, and Clay to protect the world from all kinds of paranormal threats. They have a huge job to achieve as the monster Samael multiplies each time it dies, while Rasputin and the Nazis are back at it again for revenge. With World War II in the backdrop, the film is action-packed from beginning to end. The movie presents heroic events, suspense, thrill, humor, romance, and violence. The characters are derived from a comic book but are perfectly displayed. Blob. released in 1988. The Blob is the 1988 horror sci-fi movie which is co-written and directed by Chuck Russell. The film is about an amoeba-like acidic organism that crashes down on Earth while it devours and dissolves whatever comes in its way and grows. An old man witnesses a meteorite crash near Arborville, California, where he discovers a slimy mold-like substance that sticks to his hand. 3 teenage students, Brian, Meg, and Paul, take the old man to the hospital. When Brian leaves, Paul is horrified to see the Blob dissolving the lower half of the old man. Soon, the Blob dissolves Paul too, as Meg is rendered unconscious. Meg and Brian meet at a restaurant where Brian doesn't believe Meg's account, but soon, the Blob attacks the restaurant, consuming the owners Hewitt and Geller, and goes back to the sewers. Meg and Brian return to the crash site where they encounter a military operation under Dr. Meadows, who made sure that the town and the 2 teens are quarantined. Brian escapes, but Meg is taken to the town where she learns that her brother is missing. Brian overhears that the Blob is a biological warfare experiment that is extremely dangerous. A great homage to the original 1958 movie, this flick has added humor and terror, making it a better watch. The special effects are spectacular and a lot more gruesome than the original film, giving you the height of entertainment. Trollhunter, released in 2010. In 2010, writer-director Andre Overdahl presented the Norwegian mockumentary The Trollhunter. Despite its low budget, the movie brims with entertainment to the highest level. The film, using found footage, hovers around a group of Norwegian film students trying to feature a documentary on mysterious bear killings for their project, leading them to trolls. A group of students from Volda University, Thomas, Joanna, and cameraman Kell, decided to make a documentary on mysterious bear killings as their college project. After a thorough investigation, the students narrowed down their main suspect, the poacher, Hans. One night, they decided to follow Hans into a forest where they encountered strange lights and screams, and Hans confessed that he was hunting trolls and not bears. Consequently, the group confronted a giant 3-headed monstrous troll. The students were shocked and panic-stricken to see a troll in real life, and they ran helplessly towards the car. The troll followed them, but fortunately Hans used his flash gun and converted it to stone. But there was more to come. Hans also stated the fact that the trolls were getting aggressive day by day, and Hans was supposed to collect a blood sample from a troll and send it to the pathological lab of TSS for examination. The shaky camera movements are definitely the wow factor of the film, intensifying the spine chill of the viewers. The innovative storyline combining folklore with real-life action thriller mockumentary truly deserves the appreciation. If you watched all the films mentioned in the above-mentioned list, you truly deserve to be appreciated as a horror monster fan, and we can all say that it's marvelous.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.